Good howdy, hello, good afternoon, morning, middle of the night, whichever you prefer. So today, continuing on the cultural practices conversation, we talked a lot about mowing already, so we're going to get into my favorite topic, which would be fertilizing. And you might ask why that's my favorite topic. Well, because I own a fertilizer company. No, not just that. I think a little bit of background is good, and then we'll talk of the importance here. So when I first got started and I was doing this technique with polymers, trying to get grass to be more drought tolerant, basically hold more water in the root zone, and it would slowly release as those polymers hydrated, and you could cut down the need for irrigation water by about half. Well, so that's really what started me down the road of the whole biological fertilization concept, because those polymers were susceptible to salt and they would damage and their lifespan would be shortened. So what I found out was that by doing a more robust soil first look at fertility, we were able to cut watering needs by 30 to 35% anyway, just due to the root mass. And since the root mass is this giant sponge that's down there, the more that we grow and the deeper it gets, the more useful, the more it can make use of the water. So we'll tie that in when I'm talking about irrigation and watering for lawns in the next one as the part 3 of this cultural series. So let's just cover off some basics here real quick. In general, so I'm going to speak in some generalities, and you can go to any hardware store or wherever you shop for your fertilizer currently, just to look at bags and things like that. You can take a look at it. Running through the basics, right? You're typically just going to buy an off-the-shelf an NPK fertilizer. That's just basically what it is: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Okay, that's going to be blended at different rates at different times of the year. So what I think it's really important for if you're just getting started in business and doing fertility, or if you've added on to your mowing or you're doing something like that, you're not 100% familiar with things, and this is really for anybody. The main NPK sources that are in most over-the-counter fertilizers that are not in an organic like a biosolids or anything like that, are going to be blended with the same materials. It's going to be the same thing. It's going to be the same form of nitrogen. It's going to be the same form of phosphorus. It's going to be the same form of potassium. Usually it's going to be the least expensive model that's available to get the most bulk out for the dollar. So it doesn't really matter if you were looking at any bag and you look at what the derived from statement is, you're going to find whatever it is. If it's urea, which would be fairly typical, or if it's coated urea, just to slow down the release, and in your phosphates, it's the same. So you can look at actives and see it the same way. Now, the way that modern fertility has been put together is sort of based on availability of what the soil can give. Okay, so in general terms, and you can pull up any of your extension office or your local university for your state and take a look at the recommendations for your particular turf grass, you're going to see ranges from between 2 pounds of nitrogen a year up to 6 pounds of nitrogen a year, depending on your turf type, region, all of that kind of stuff. Now, it tends to fall, no matter what turf type, into a 4 pound per thousand per year of nitrogen rate, and then you would find somewhere around that 1 pound of phosphorus recommendation and anywhere between 1 and 2 pounds of potassium. Now, that is just a general blanket statement on everything. It takes into account nothing to do with the lawn, your your history of the lawn, your soil type, your anything. That's just sort of a, well, this is maximum thresholds that you want to get out there. Okay, so this is the number. Your soil is going to dictate what can actually be used out of that material. So how your soil functions, whatever its CEC is, it's basically its particle size and it's the way that it can use those nutrients is of its own unique self. Now, you can go to certain areas and say like the entire coast of an area might have the same type of soil, so its nutrients should look very similar. You can go out into the plains and you can take an area and it's going to be very similar. Now, where things start to change and get a little bit tricky is this. So, and this is the conversation that comes up the most, and why there is an importance of understanding what you have already in the ground, underground, before you start going just haphazard with fertilizer and spraying it and spreading it all over the place. So in a lot of areas, when foundations are being dug, you're digging down below what would be a topsoil layer, and that material tries to be spent across your landscape, across your lot, to create its new grade. And so whatever is in under your house comes up to the surface and gets used. So you're either getting, you're covering up whatever topsoil was there, or maybe it was getting scraped and sold. There's all these different ways that it's managed. And if your lawn wasn't put in with a layer of topsoil, because, you know, whatever came out of the ground is whatever came out of the ground, you will have a difference in what was available in that soil to begin with, because you're getting down into the soil horizons that get a little bit deeper. I'm sorry, this is getting a little technical, and I just want to get to the high points of, you know, the purpose of why you're fertilizing. So it's important. It's very important. If you're going to start a lawn care journey, okay, and you're doing it yourself or you have a business, one thing that I've pitched to people who own lawn care businesses is to do zone type soil testing. And what I mean by that is, if you've got 500 customers within a square mile, take like 5 samples out and around from those, get a good baseline of what things look like, and then adjust your fertility to what that looks like when you are able to spot around and see things. If you're a homeowner and you're good with just going and spreading a bag, go and do that. It's totally fine. There'll be no judgment from anybody. If you want to get into it a little further and start really giving your grass what it needs, like really needs, and what might be missing to have a more robust system, then you're going to want a soil test. Now, let me explain the difference here, and this is what I want everybody to understand. When you fertilize with an NPK fertilizer, you are giving a readily available plant food. That is just plant food. Now, nitrate is very mobile with water, so that can be kind of fluctuating here today, gone tomorrow. Then your phosphorus can get down and sort of be locked up, so a certain amount will be used by the plant. Potassium is relatively stable. The plant's going to draw from that more in a root zone to regulate water and cell development, so it doesn't pull a whole ton of it out, but over time it will, okay? So if you're only feeding those particular nutrients over and over and over, here's what you'll start to see. So people do that every day, okay? And they have green grass and they're very happy with it. And a lot of people are going to challenge me on this, and I love it. The grass will grow and you will cut your grass and it'll be green. But over time, there are changes that start to happen. You will start to see that there is more of a chance for weeds. There is more of a chance for funguses. There is more of a chance for even insects, because just like us, just like our human body, a balanced diet is the most important thing. And I can tell you that a 3-nutrient meal is not a balanced meal. There is zero balance in that, because you've got another 16 elements that are needed anyway. So we're giving just shots, basically just shots of energy, and not building body. Okay, so we're not able to create mass. We're able to create growth, but no mass. So there's a big difference there. So when you start to do that, and you're feeding just a sort of a basic diet over and over and over, eventually the grass will get weak, the soil will get tired, and it can only process so much. Your roots will stay shallow, and you're not giving enough to keep your soil system healthy, and therefore you will be using more water. You will see more drought stress. That is a given, 100%, and anybody who wants to challenge me on that, feel free. So here's the approach. This is why we fertilize. This is why we need to fertilize, and this is why we need to keep a good, solid, robust program that incorporates micronutrient elements regularly, okay, that incorporates soil food, incorporates carbon and things of that nature. Let's run through it. I want to have the strongest body possible. That's what I want, okay? So I want to make sure that I'm giving my grass a workout through its cutting. and I want to make sure that it's staying hydrated through my irrigation, and I want to make sure that it's being fed through proper nutrition, and all of those things come together to form a very solid unit. If I go for balance, true balance, and I have the soil functioning at a high pace, okay, so that means that I've got organic matter building, I've got minor elements in there, I've got all of these components built into a bank that this turf can pull from in any time of stress. This is basically depositing, and so the grass will pull what it needs when it needs it. I am not going to have weeds like other people. I won't. I still don't. I don't have weeds. I still haven't applied a weed control. And if you look, if we were to walk around, you would find some all along the edges back out here, but they don't invade the lawn because the grass is crazy thick. Nothing is going to get through there. And the soil is so highly balanced, they just don't really have much of a need to be in here. There's not a missing component. If you want to go back into that, look at the weed series that I did this last winter, talking about what certain weeds do and what they contribute to your soil. You can take a look at that. You can probably click about right here if you want to try to find that one. So you have to be consistent with this as well. Consistency is the key in all things lawn related. Timing is important, but also paying attention to the needs. If I just came out here, like right now today, if I came out here with just a bag of whatever, triple 15, take that, something that you can buy at the farmer's feed and seed, my grass would explode with growth. It would just jump like crazy because it would be fed a high amount of readily available food into a soil that's already functioning at a high point. So the better you make your soil, the more it's able to take and process these nutrients and feed up into the plant. So one thing that a lot of people really get hung up on is if you get stuck in the NPK mode, and that's all you really ever think about, and it's just about that pushing nitrogen, pushing phos, whatever it is that you're stuck on, because people do get stuck on one element. If you get stuck there, everything else is going to function just to that particular element, okay? So it's all going to be focused, say, on speedy growth. When you get speedy growth, you get tall, stringy grass, you get less body, and now you have a place for weeds to come in. So now you're going to be thinking more about your weed control program than you are about your nutrition. And I see this in businesses the most. There's so much focus on budget about the controls that they pull away from the nutrition aspect. And when you pull away from the nutrition aspect, you spend more on controls. So it's this cycle that begins to happen where you're like, I've got to get more money to control all of these issues, when if you put it towards building the health and the body of the plant, you're going to have less issues. So I encourage that. I really want people to take a look at this and think about it in the same way that you would yourself. When you're thinking about yourself being healthy, what is it that you need? Well, you need a lot more than just 3 little elements. We can't survive on bread alone. Your lawn can't survive on NPK alone. And I will point out, since I'm back out here again, I just want everybody to see, because this is 2 days more have gone by. This thing is almost totally healed in. Just doing it on its own. Nothing else has gone towards it. The grass was actually just cut again this morning. I came out and I put my rollers back on. And so it's a little higher right now. It's at about 3/4 of an inch, but I went ahead and cut it again because I am keeping it at this level to keep it nice and tight. So back to the nutrition aspect. Fertilizer is a must. It is a must if you really want to have, truly at the end of the day, a lower maintenance lawn, which is, it's weird to say that, but it is true. If you feed properly, your grass isn't ever going to surge. You're not going to get this massive pop and growth thing if you've got a good balance of what is going down. If you can choose however you want to do it, okay? I don't see anything wrong with feeding a lawn once a week, as long as your rates are down to here. Feeding it every 6 weeks, that's fine. 8 weeks, depending on what you're using, but you need to just make sure that it continues. If you're gonna go out once at the beginning of the year and then you don't do anything else, by summer you're gonna start to have some issues. You're going to see the lawn get weak and have a lot of weeds, and then you're gonna be spending your time walking around either picking or spraying weeds out. So stay consistent, stay on your fertility, and just keep that meal flowing. And it's a big balance. Make sure you're getting your miners out there. Make sure you're getting some good soil building pieces in there. You know, that's really the focus for me. Is I am religious about humic. I love humic. I put it down. I put it down by itself. I put it down as part of every single product that I make, aside from the 700. There's none in there. The rest of it, I want it going down all the time because I want to deposit that carbon. I want that chelation aspect. I want that area where there's enough space for microbial activity to form and colonize and just create a healthier, more robust system. So that's what I want you to think. The big takeaway here is if you focus more to the nutritive side, you will need less controls. And I know there's gonna be a ton of comments about this because I hear it in emails all the time, and it's gonna come through. And if you read through the comments, what people are gonna be posting, it's like, you know, you're right, I went to a lesser nutrient, more soil building, I've had less weeds this year, I've had less disease, it's gonna just start banging through there. So that's really all I wanted to put out there for today. That's kind of a crash course in fertility. I mean, really crash course. These are things that can be spoken on for a long time. And if you want to go further into it, the soil series I did last fall breaks things down through like eight videos of how soil works and how you can build it. So that's it. It's a beautiful sunny day here, nice and cool. And I have nothing to do to this lawn. It's fabulous. I will talk to you guys all real soon.